American News brings you our people's contribution to America and freedom.
Vintage movie night, we're gonna watch some old films. Vintage movies. Vintage movie night, we're gonna watch some old films. Vintage movies. Vintage movies. Vintage movie night, we're gonna watch some old films. Vintage movie night. Vintage movie night. Vintage movie night.
The historic scene of the flag raising at Iwo Jima, which graces many posters, now is found atop Milady's head. It's the latest in coiffure ornaments. Interested spectators view the hair creation. Never before has the hairdress been so important or elaborate, for jewels, flowers, combs, and other ornaments adorn the crowning glory of the fair sex. The short bob is obviously out, and the hair piled high seems to be in.
Welcome to Vintage Black History, Music, and Arts Short Films. My name's Richard Hall. I've been doing these short film programs for Takoma Park since about 2013. Now, I really wish you could all be here with me in the Municipal Center Auditorium to watch these films, but we can't do that now. So, the films we're going to see tonight were designed to be shown to an audience of people all together in a room. And isn't it nice when you're in a room with a bunch of people and you can hear their reactions to the films, and you can hear them cough, you can hear them get up and go out, or somebody's cell phone rings, or they laugh. No, we're not going to get any of that tonight. These films were made to be shown in theaters. Lots of them were made to be shown in black theaters. And in the 1940s, there may have been 900 of those or so in the country. It's hard to say. Let's all try to forget about our troubles. Let's forget about our worries. Let's all just pretend we're together in this auditorium watching 2 hours of short films that celebrate Black history. And what I'm going to do is give a brief little introduction to each one. I'll talk between films. We opened with a bit of a newsreel, and I plan to sprinkle those in all through the evening. The collection is called All American News. It's from the Library of Congress online screening room. They were the first newsreels produced for black audiences. They're made in the 1940s, and they seem to have been associated with the Office of War Information. And they were intended to encourage Black Americans to participate and support the war effort, though a lot of the stories are not about the war. The person behind these films is someone you see on your screen now, William Alexander, who continued to work for many decades afterwards. Our first title of the night from the Library of Congress online screening room is called Symphony in Black, A Rhapsody of Negro Life. It's about 9 minutes. Now, if you're a younger viewer watching this, you have to get used to the fact that in the past and much of the 20th century, African Americans were referred to as Negro. That's how they referred to it themselves, and that's in these films primarily. That's what the word that is used, even in the title of the films. This one is Duke Ellington composing the symphony that we just mentioned, and you can see him sort of working on it, and the film is illustrating the meaning behind the symphony, and this was Billie Holiday's screen debut.
don't love me, can't get him back again.
American News brings you our people's contribution to America and freedom.
Happy birthday to you. That's what it says. The occasion is the 100th birthday of Mrs. Lucy Berry Smith of Louisville, Kentucky, and the 15th Street Memorial AME Zion Church is the scene. Mrs. Smith makes a wish and blows out 100 candles, but in 3 puffs. Mrs. Berry's grandson gets the first slice of the lovely cake. Pictured are the gracious lady's immediate family. That night, there was a civic reception for her with hundreds of townspeople attending. Mrs. Berry has lived in Louisville since 1865. May she have many more birthdays is everybody's wish. Yes, just 100 years young.
The Atlanta Daily World and the Negro Newspaper Publishers Association for the first time, have obtained full accreditation of one of their representatives to the White House press conferences of the President. In this critical period in our history, this move is important and significant. To be able to obtain news information firsthand from this important source is an accomplishment for which the Daily World and the Publishers Association deserve high praise and commendation. It is my good fortune to have been selected as their White House correspondent. I am not unaware of the responsibilities this honor carries with it.
Mrs. Goodall, at the ripe age of 102, you must have had some interesting experiences. Tell us one of them when you were a little girl.
Yes. Well, when I was a little girl in slave days, I always had something to do every day. Every day. I didn't have time to play very much at all. Because I myself was in the house for most of the time. In days like this, while we were outdoors, pulling up weeds, or picking up feathers where the chickens would all make them through the yard, or every day. And in cloudy days, while we were in the house, they had a big pan of sand, silver sand and an old slipper, scrubbing up the floor in the big dining room where they ate the meal.
Mr. Haney, where did you live as a slave?
I was slave all my life.
Where did you live?
I told you where I lived, but in Washington.
Where did you live before Washington?
I told you.
You know, the audio sometimes is difficult to hear, and it would have been nice to hear much more of an interview with two former slaves, but this is what we have. Next, we have another 9-minute film from the Library of Congress, The Story of Dr. Carver, 1938. It's 9 minutes. It's an MGM short that was preserved by the Library of Congress recently. I obtained it from their YouTube channel. This is a Hollywood short film that's a take on the life of George Washington Carver.
In the early years after the Civil War, cotton was the chief industry of the South. From the rich soil of the large plantations and small farms came the soft white fiber to supply the needs of the world. But after 30 more years of continuous cotton planting, the soil had thinned and crops began to fail. Farmers saw their once fertile fields turn into dry, lifeless dust. Land became barren and then eroded. The hand of catastrophe clutched the heart of the South. Among the many searching for a solution was Booker T. Washington, famous Negro educator. Washington pinned his hopes on a man of his own race. And who was this man? Well, let's go back to the night when, as a baby, we find him in the slave quarters of a Missouri plantation owned by a man named Carver. Tending the sickly child as the other slaves sleep, its mother hears. A dreaded sound that fills her with terror. It can mean only one thing: night raiders who steal slaves, carry them across state lines, and resell them. the woods across the state line, the slaves are sold to the highest bidders. The woman brings a good price, but the sickly child, taken from its mother's arms in spite of her pathetic pleas, is considered worthless. Frantic with grief, her entreaties ignored, she is sold down the river with the other slaves, never to see her child again. Later, after trailing the raiders to their camp, Carver is ironically told that the baby is the only slave left for sale. Since the planter is out of his state, he has no recourse to the current law. In order to get the child, he must buy it back. Out of sympathy for the sick, forsaken baby, Carver is determined to meet the demands of the raider. The price? Well, the thief has taken a liking to Carver's horse, and so the bargain is made. A sick slave baby in exchange for one of the finest animals in the South. A bargain indeed for the raider, or at least so he feels. But the sickly baby lived, and in early boyhood seems more interested in study than in housework. Pleased with this, the kindly Carver encourages him, gives the boy his own surname, and soon relieves him of his chores and sends him to school. Years pass, and we find young Carver working his way through Iowa State College, where he majors in agriculture. A Master of Science degree, then as a member of the faculty, he continues agricultural experiments. And so, because of his remarkable knowledge and his ability to overcome obstacles, Carver was assigned to the cotton crisis. After weeks of careful study, Carver formulated a plan. Alabama farmers were using peanut plants as food for their pigs. He knew from experiments that peanuts had high nutritive value in refertilizing soil. Besides, they had a small but steady market and would bring the farmer a little money, enough to tide him over. His plan was to plant peanuts to refertilize the soil, then plant cotton, alternating the two crops. But the farmers would not listen to this newfangled idea of crop rotation. Peanuts were hog feed, and Carver's idea a joke. His repeated attempts to explain met with the same response. Finally, Carver took 19 of the worst acres in all Alabama, determined to prove his theory himself. Here he planted peanuts. They flourished in soil that had seemed hopeless. Then, rotating peanuts and cotton crops, he revived the ground. And farmers at last listened to the man who turned dust into a grade A cotton soil. Some still skeptical, others convinced. Carver persisted until every one of them agreed to try out his plan without further delay. He had made a great stride toward his goal. With renewed hope, farmers planted peanuts on half their acreage, and on the other half, cotton. After harvest, they reversed this procedure. Once again, fine cotton appeared in Alabama. Then, a new catastrophe. The boll weevil infested the land, leaving its larvae to eat away the heart of King Cotton. Once more, hope turned to despair. But farmers who had heard the message of Carver found that the peanuts had survived. These crops would see them through until the next cotton harvest. The news spread, and planters everywhere raised peanuts. Warehouses became packed to overflowing. The supply far exceeded the limited demand. Low prices dropped off to practically nothing. The farmer had no market. Now it was indeed true that peanuts were only good for hog feed. The situation became more serious than ever. With cotton destroyed and no market for peanuts, many farmers had no means of earning enough for next season's planting. Their families faced poverty such as even they had never known. Angry farmers gathered. Many felt that Carver had led them astray with false promises. As was his custom, Dr. Carver turned to his Bible, and there he found inspiration that gave him the courage to carry on. To his mind came the thought, he must find new uses for this hog feed. Surely within its shell there were properties that would create new markets for the peanut and bring relief to the poverty-stricken farmer. In his laboratory, he broke the peanut down to its component parts. From the oil, he made soap. From the thin red skins came a variety of dyes. Then, from the husks, he pounded paper, as well as wallboard, toiling night and day to create more and more byproducts as farmers were happy in their fields. Prices went up. Peanut products began to pour out to all parts of the country and then to distant parts of the world. As years passed, Dr. Carver created still more products. From peanuts came milk, face creams, shaving creams, then ice cream and the cones to hold it, axle grease, salad dressing, silver polish, meat sauce, coffee, quinine. Working tirelessly as the years rolled by, Dr. Carver gave away his discoveries as quickly as he found them. From the peanut, he created more than 140 products. The genius of this wizard became responsible for a $60 million a year industry. At Tuskegee, Alabama, a grateful South has erected a statue in his honor. Monuments to Dr. Carver, too, are the many manufacturing plants that give employment to thousands. To this humble, kindly Negro came letters from institutions in all parts of the world offering him important positions at fabulous salaries. Thomas Edison wanted him, but Carver preferred to work for his beloved South. Still active in his laboratory at the age of 78, Dr. Carver is now developing from the peanut what might prove his greatest discovery. His newest goal is a miraculous massage oil for rejuvenating the muscles wasted away by infantile paralysis. Its achievement would bring new hope to crippled children the world over. From a baby born in slavery to a truly great scientist, such is the story of George Washington Carver.
Well, this film, this amazing color film from 1937, was shot by Dr. C. Allen Alexander. He was an African-American surgeon from Kalamazoo, Michigan, and he wrote a letter to giving the film to the National Park Service. And this is what his letter said. From your knowledge of the history of this great man, Dr. Carver, you know that he was a very private individual who did not permit publicity concerning himself, and as a consequence would not permit any commercial firm to make any movies, scenes of him or his work. In 1937, his assistant, Dr. Austin W. Curtis, his closest associate, persuaded him to permit some private individual to make some short movie sequences of him, and this is what we're watching now. And it just so happens that this was at the time that Kodak had just released color film for amateurs, and that's what they got. And the film was stored in a bank vault for many years, and then it was given to the National Park Service, and the National Park Service gave their film to the National Archives. Along with being a scientist in areas with peanuts, he was also an artist, which I didn't know before. And here he's posing with some paintings that he made.
What's this? Arabian Nights on the loose? It's the Washington Police Boys Club staging a show. The young lads and their sisters and other children of the nation's capital present quite a program. What's a show without glamour girls. Here they are. Music was furnished by some of the older members. The show, staged at a USO center, is one of many activities of the Boys Club, fostered by the police department to keep boys off the streets and out of trouble. The club gives youngsters a chance to show their talents. It instills good citizenship, good conduct and usefulness into these young citizens of tomorrow, and does a fine job. There's just got to be a sister act, and, of course, crooners. Congratulations are in order.
In the world of literature, the National Book Award for Fiction went to Ralph Ellison for his novel, The Invisible Man. Representing the entire publishing world, the late Frederick Lewis Allen made the presentation. It was the first novel by the young author, an auspicious start.
Our next film is from 1942. It's called Jam Session. It's also Duke Ellington. This film was named to the National Film Registry in 2001. And when they do that, that means they make an extra effort to make sure this film is preserved for the future. The best copy they can possibly get. This was recorded in late 1941, released in 1942.
This has been a presentation of the Library of Congress. Visit us at loc.gov.
All American News brings you our people's contribution to America and freedom. The 35th Division Spearhead Tank Battalion pauses at Seville in Germany, bound for the Rhine. As United States Signal Corps cameramen catch the scene, supplies are being loaded. This crack battalion is made up of Negro enlisted men. Machine gun bullets are handy for use on Nazis. Instructions are received by radio, each tank having full wireless equipment. These tankers were out in front 4 days on the 9th United States Army's push to the Rhine. A Negro medic checks the casualty. With rations and ammunition loaded, the tanks are ready to move onward to Horsken, Germany.
Mr. Benjamin Wiggins, I understand on the 18th of April you'll be 102 years of age. Do you recall the first president you voted for and where?
General Grant was the first president that I voted for in Plainsboro, Middlesex County, New Jersey.
Mr. Wiggins, do you recall what you were doing on the day that you voted for President Grant?
I was working on a farm, shucking corn.
So if you didn't hear what the gentleman said there, whose first vote for president was Grant, they asked him what he was doing, and he said he was working on a farm shucking corn at the time. So next is our longest selection of the night, and this film comes from the Library of Congress, National Screening Room. It's called The Cry of Jazz. It's from 1959. It examines the differences between Negro, that's what they say all through the film, and white Americans in background, temperament, and experience, and explains why the musical structure of jazz provides an interpretation of Negro life. According to the filmmaker behind it, Mr. Edward Bland, he said when the film came out, the response was hideous. The film came from many late-night conversations he had in various taverns near the University of Chicago. Bland, along with 3 friends, a mathematician, an urban planner, and a novelist, formed an all-black production company and embarked in 1956 on what would become the Cry of Jazz. We'd get into all these arguments about these jazz critics-to-be, Bland said in 2006. They were mostly white, and I felt there was a racial angle, too. I felt they were trying to wipe the blackness out of jazz. So this film was completely self-financed, and volunteers worked on it. So this is a DIY effort. So here from 1959 is a very unusual and interesting film, The Cry of Jazz.
From the Library of Congress in Washington, D.C.
Drop me over the bus stop. It's not out of your way.
Sure, Bill. I'll be back.
Don't forget my party tomorrow night, kids. Bring all your friends.
Oh, party will come.
Bye, everyone. See you tomorrow night.
I'll give you a ring first thing in the morning.
Better make it about 11 if we can.
Good night.
I ought to be going, too. It was awfully nice of you to invite me here. You know, this is the first time I've been to anything like this. And thanks a lot, Bruce, for showing me how rock and roll is jazz.
Bruce? Did you tell her that rock and roll was jazz? Yeah, sure, that's what I told her. Is there something wrong with that? Bruce, how square can you get? Rock and roll is not jazz. Rock and roll is merely an offspring of rhythm and blues.
Now look here, whatever your name is, who are you to know so much?
Natalie,
Putting in like this?
Natalie, you haven't met Alex. Alex here is an arranger for the Paul Severson group.
So what? Oh, that makes him an authority. Almost anyone knows rock and roll is not jazz, huh, Alex? Well, if jazz is not rock and roll, what is jazz? So tell me what jazz is, Alex.
Jazz
is merely the Negro's cry of joy and suffering.
Oh, now, wait a minute, Lewis. You talk as if Negroes were the only ones who could have created jazz.
Not only did they create jazz, they were the only ones who could have created jazz.
Now, look, that's unfair, Alex. There are a lot of fine white musicians that play jazz. Remember, you and I heard some last night.
Sure there are, but the Negro and the Negro alone created jazz. He created jazz from the special slant he has on the American scene. That's how he tells his story.
Only a part of it.
It's clear to me that the Negro created jazz, but still, is he the only one who could have created it?
Yes, the Negro was the only one with the necessary musical and human history to create jazz. No, if you mean the Negro suffered, everybody suffered. And who suffered more than the Jews?
Yeah, how can you answer that one?
Well, a Negro can be Jewish or Catholic. Now, you can lose a leg, I can lose a leg. Whatever happens to you can happen to me. And in addition, I'm Negro.
All right, all right. But what I want to know about is, what about all the fine white musicians that have contributed to jazz? Jazz is American. You guys are trying to make a racial distinction where there isn't one.
Look, John, all the fundamental and basic contributions to all the various kinds of jazz have been made by Negroes. The white musicians you speak of are merely playing follow the leader.
Well, Alex, what is there about the Negro's way of making music which is crucial to jazz?
To answer that, Bob, I'd have to go into the nature of jazz, and I don't know that there's that much interest around for anything that deep.
Oh, well, anyway, Alex, she asked what jazz is, and we've been talking about everything else. So why don't you tell me?
Sure, Faye. Suppose I make a comparison between joy and suffering in Negro life and jazz as music. All of you have seen various aspects of Negro life at times, right? Take, for instance, the area right around where we had our jam session yesterday as a starter. Let's look at some of these manifestations of Negro life and compare them to jazz, okay? As Lewis put it a moment ago, a Negro is potentially capable of experiencing everything that all Americans experience, plus Negroes undergo the hazard of being Negro. The hazard of being Negro begins before birth and extends beyond death. The difficulty in being Negro resides in being able to accept all the hazards of being Negro and simultaneously to triumph over these hazards. Jazz is the musical expression of the triumph of the Negro spirit. The Negro cry of joy and suffering in jazz is based on a contradiction in jazz. This contradiction is between freedom and restraint. Let's start with restraint in jazz. The feeling of restraint in jazz is caused in part by the way jazz form operates. The basic formal unit of jazz, which is called the chorus, repeats itself endlessly without getting anywhere. That is why the chorus is restraining. This endless repetition is like a chain around the spirit and is a reflection of the denial of a future to the Negro in the American way of life. Another restraining factor in jazz are the changes. Like any other structure, the chorus is held together by certain materials and their patterns. These materials and their patterns are termed harmonies. The jazzman calls them changes. The changes are stated through the rhythm section, especially the piano and guitar. The pattern of the changes is repeated over and over again. The two restraining elements in jazz are the form and the changes. They are restraining because of their endless repetition, in much the same way that the Negro experiences the endless daily humiliation of American life, which bequeaths him a futureless future. In conflict with America's gift of a futureless future is the Negro's image of himself. Through glorifying the inherent joy and freedom in each present moment of life, the Negro transforms America's image of him into a transport of joy. Denied a future, the joyous celebration of the present is the Negro's answer to America's ceaseless attempts to obliterate him. Jazz is a musical expression of the Negro's eternal recreation of the present. The Negro's freeing worship of the present in jazz occurs through the constant creation of new ideas in jazz. These new ideas are born by improvising through the restraints of the form and the changes. Jazz reflects the improvised life thrust upon the Negro. Now, melody is one element which can be used in improvisation. The soloist creates his melody through elaborating on various details of the changes. The manner in which each change shall be elaborated upon is a problem of the eternal present. As Negro life admits of many individual solutions, so does the way in which a change can be elaborated upon. Of course, the Negro, as man and or jazzman, must be constantly creative, for that is how he remains free. Otherwise, the dehumanizing portrait America has drawn of him will triumph. For the Negro, each present moment must be electric, full of meaning and seething with life. This is made manifest in gesture, in walk, and in dance. Now, rhythm electrifies each present moment in jazz. This electrification is born of the conflict of two types of rhythm which exist simultaneously in nearly every bar of jazz. Some call this electrification, caused by jazz rhythm, swinging, and it is through swinging that an additional feeling of freedom enters. The emphasis on a conflict of kinds of rhythm, namely a rhythm of stress and one of length, is characteristic of Negro music all over the world, and through utilizing this emphasis, the American Negro produces an oblique musical product and a damaging commentary on the human wastelands of America. Through melodic improvisation and the ever-present contradiction in rhythm, the Negro makes an art form that insists on the deification of the present and which, among other things, is an unconscious holding action until he is also master of his future. Melodic improvisation and rhythmic conflict are the joyful, freeing, and present-oriented aspects of jazz, while form and the changes are the suffering, restraining, and futureless aspects of jazz. Negro life, in addition to its struggle to become, also has its characteristic atmosphere, color, and sensuality. In jazz, this is reflected by the sonority of the music. The jazzman substitutes the word sound for sonority. Think of the sound of much Negro music compared to Negro life. Now contrast this to the sound of jazz as performed by whites compared to white life. Negro life, then, as created through jazz, is a contradiction between worship of the present, freedom and joy, and the realization of the futureless future, restraint and suffering, which the American way of life has bestowed upon the Negro. The cry of joy and suffering in jazz is then based on the ever-present contradiction between freedom and restraint. The feeling of freedom is based on the Negro's view of what life in America should be, while the feeling of restraint is based on the actual inhuman situation in which the Negro finds himself.
I think that boils down for you what jazz is.
It sure does.
Alex, you said something before about a special slant the Negro has on the American scene. Now, I don't see why Negroes see things differently than anybody else.
Joe. Oh, look, Negroes are just like everybody else.
Oh, no, they're not. You see, the Negro looks at the human arena in America indirectly,
He views America with a special clarity and penetration. He can do this because he's grown up in a corner and made the most of it.
So he suffered. But why put him in a corner?
I didn't put him there. Don't you know who put him there? He's there because of the outrageous savagery of you white Americans.
You act as if we're not human.
Are you human? The Negro is the only human American.
I am too human. I've got eyes, hair, nose, and a face just like you.
It takes more than a face, a nose, or hair to be human. It takes a soul. Oh, Alex, you know we've got souls.
If Americans had souls, they wouldn't have tried to take ours away from us.
And they're still trying to take them away.
Take away your souls? How?
You wiped out our past. We have no yesterday to look back on. With slavery, you wiped out our today, and the present day savagery is intended to deprive us of our tomorrow. If America had her way, time would vanish for the Negro.
Well, then how does the Negro survive?
Through spirituals, through the blues, then through jazz, we made a memory of our past and a promise of all to come.
Then the history of jazz is the story of the fantastic ingenuity of the Negro in America.
Yes, that's the part of the incredible genius of the Negro.
Well, come on over here and tell us about the history of jazz, Alex.
Well, I imagine that all of you remember to some extent the music which was played at our concert yesterday. We'll use that music as basis for discussion. Now, Faye, the jazz from which the other major styles developed was New Orleans jazz. New Orleans jazz was the first jazz style, as distinguished from blues and spirituals, those other monuments to the history of the struggle of the Negro spirit. Yesterday, we didn't hear any New Orleans jazz, but we did hear Dixieland, which is derivative from New Orleans jazz. New Orleans jazz was, among other things, the Negro's present moment, all he had, and this all he made completely his own. Characteristic of this music are highly flowery melodies conducting intensely competitive conversations against each other simultaneously. The beats of the rhythm section are essentially alike. Years later, after many Negroes had left the inhuman South and migrated to the more cleverly inhuman North, their problem, among others, was how to retain their identity through the restraints of city living, mechanized and brutalizing jobs, and fragmented families. The musical answer came in the form of swing, in which you have a highly arranged, precise music with only a few key men using their individuality to improvise. In the early 40s, Charlie Parker, Dizzy Gillespie, and Thelonious Monk introduced bebop. Emphasis focused on long, snake-like melodies, small instrumental combinations, and changes or harmonies derived from Debussy and Ravel. Cymbals emphasized the second and fourth beats, thus freeing the rest of the drums for commentated playing. Bop also, among other things, was a revolt against the subservient Uncle Tom role given Negroes in the war effort and the entertainment world of that era. Cool jazz emphasized thin, soft sounds and a highly arranged music using many devices from serious music of past days. The soloists based their styles to a great extent on stars of the Count Basie band of the swing era, especially Lester Prez Young. Cool jazz has been called by some an attempt to remove the Negro influence from jazz, because jazz is the one element in American life where whites must be humble to Negroes. The newest sounds to come along in contemporary jazz are written by the composer-arranger the Sun Ra out of Chicago. The Sun Ra, among other things, fuses the snake-like bebop melodies with colors of Duke Ellington and the experimental changes of Thelonious Monk. The Sun Ra says of his music that it is a portrayal of everything the Negro really was, is, and is going to be, with emphasis focused on the Negro's triumph over the demonic currents of his experience.
And briefly, that is the history of jazz till now.
Well, you know, I'm interested in what's going to happen to jazz. John, aren't you?
Yes, but... Alex, I've been thinking about something you said before.
What's that, John?
Well, look. Granted that the Negro is the fountainhead of jazz, isn't it possible that a white can be just as basic to jazz as a Negro?
That's a fair question. Yes, it could be possible. But possible only when the whites have paid the price in suffering to be the Negro's equal.
But we are your equal. What are you talking about?
But you're not our equals in suffering.
People just don't go out searching for suffering. How will we ever be your equals?
Well, the first step will be to accept the Negro's tragic experience with reverence and humbleness.
But we're individuals. We've got our own way to go.
And that way is leading America nowhere but to death and doom.
But the Negro's way of looking at life is offering hope to everybody.
Certainly. Jazz is telling everybody's story. Why can't you accept it?
Oh, wait a minute. That's outrageous. Outrageous, my eye. This joy and suffering in jazz has cut across many differences in people and has won many friends for us overseas.
They really go wild over it in Europe, Asia, and South America.
Do they? Do they now? I don't know about that.
Then you must be pretty dumb.
You know, it seems to me that jazz and the Negro could win friends for this country more readily than the other things we're doing in the Cold War.
Now, how can you be so illogical, Faye? Foreign policy is one thing. Jazz is another.
But she's right, because people in foreign countries sense the warmth and beauty in American Negroes in jazz, while they distrust white Americans.
I don't see it. But anyway, Faye said something earlier about being interested in what's going to happen to jazz. Would you tell me, Alex?
Yes, jazz is dead.
Well, if jazz is dead, then the Negro's dead, right?
No, wrong. What do you mean jazz is dead? Why, jazz is selling more records today than ever before.
Why is jazz dead, Alex?
Jazz is dead because the Negro needs more room to tell his story.
But isn't jazz enough?
Well, it should be, the way you guys have been talking about it. You know, there are limits.
His story deserves more than just jazz, jazz, jazz. Jazz, for all its power, beauty, and world dominance, is too limiting. It's a genteel slavery.
Slavery was over in 1863. Why must you guys always keep crying the blues?
Look, I'm sick and tired of hearing Negroes accused of crying the blues.
This is nutty. Absolutely and positively nutty. I've given in to you on those other points, Alex, but not on this one.
Why not?
Oh, come on. Let's cool down, okay? Now, if the Negro won't need jazz, who will need it?
American whites will need it in order to understand the suffering which is needed in order to try to become human.
Well, in what way is jazz dead, though, Alex?
Let me clarify. The jazz body is dead, but the spirit of jazz is alive.
But why is the body dead?
The body is dead because inherently the material of jazz does not allow for further growth.
Well, what are these inherent reasons for the death of the jazz body?
The inherent reasons for the death of jazz center around the restraining elements of jazz. The restraining elements of jazz are the form and the changes. If any attempts are made to develop the form and or the changes, the swing or the spirit of jazz is lost. Since the jazz body cannot grow, it can only repeat itself. In so doing, it is stagnant. In so doing, it is dead. The three reasons for the death of the jazz body are: 1, the changes cannot evolve and retain the form. 2, the form cannot evolve and retain the swing. And 3, both the changes and the form cannot evolve simultaneously and have jazz. In all three alternatives, we have no growth in jazz, and that is what I mean by the death of the jazz body. Jazz cannot grow because it was not meant to grow. Its dead body stands as a monument to the Negro, who was supposed to die in the American scheme of things. Any attempts to develop the form or changes of jazz gives us only a circular seesaw which leads America or the Negro nowhere. Jazz is dead because, in a way, the strangling image of a futureless future has made the Negro a dead thing, too. The Negro can only become alive by the construction of America's future. Jazz is dead because the restraints and suffering of American life on the Negro have to die. The spirit of jazz is alive because the Negro spirit must endure.
Look, Alex, you're sounding ridiculous. Jazz can be further developed. Look what's happening to cool jazz.
I should think so. I mean, things can always change.
No, jazz has had it. No new growth can occur in jazz. Anything which happens now will be a variation on something old. The body is dead, but the spirit of jazz is here for a long time, just like the Negro.
Fee, fi, fo, fa.
But I just don't see it. What will follow jazz?
Eeny, meeny, miny, mo.
That depends upon what the Negro does with the spirit of jazz. Jazz is merely a faint glimpse of something with colossal power which is arising.
Alex, are you saying that the Negro will remake present-day serious music?
Yes, the spirit of jazz will remake serious music, but the sounds of jazz will not be used.
Oh, that's nonsense.
Now, don't tell me that such a revolution would be based upon the spirit of jazz. You guys are too far out for me.
It's insane, really insane.
Well, so the Negro does all this, whatever you say it is. I don't see how it concerns us.
Because the Negro controls America's destiny.
What do you mean, our destiny? He can't control America's destiny.
But he can. You see, the Negro is their conscience, if they have a conscience. And if they don't, they're less than human.
What? What's happening here?
What's this, a Mau meeting? I thought this was a jazz club. This is nothing but black chauvinism.
That's it, black Americanism. I shudder when I think of the terrible burden the Negro has in trying to teach American whites how to become human.
After all, we're not boasting. We're merely laying down the facts. And you may as well accept them or disappear like a handful of smoke.
Alex, I don't think what you're saying is black chauvinism. And I think any American white who thinks he can judge the Negro that readily is just being awfully arrogant.
Look, Alex, I don't know what to call this, but I wouldn't call it black chauvinism.
Forget it. Like most American whites, she is to be pitied.
Pitied?
America's soul is an empty void. The most Americans can see in tomorrow's mirror is a Cadillac or deep freeze.
Yes, or a man walking in outer space.
Oh, my God. What's this got to do with jazz or the Negro, Alex?
Simply this. America needs an immediate sense of values. It's borrowing from the Negro in language and dress and rock and roll and in jazz in order to fill this need.
I don't think we're really wise enough to look to the Negro yet.
Have we really looked at all, Alex? Not officially, not consciously, but with creeping reluctance, shame, and pathetic curiosity, America's beginning to look to the Negro for the answers to her problems.
But what is the meaning of the death of jazz?
The death of jazz is the first faint cry of the salvation of the Negro through the birth of a new way of life.
Right, Alex. The salvation of the Negro and the rest of America. That is, if America can realize that the hope for America lies through the American Negro.
Then America needs the Negro to teach us how to be American, right?
And John, Fay, Natalie, and Bruce, where else does America's future image as a world power reside but in the dark soul of the Negro, whose salvation has now become in the world's watching eyes the vindication of America's posture.
One of the many busy machine shops around the country is this one at the Navy Yard in Washington, D.C. The weaker sex isn't weak anymore. Women are equally expert at punch or drill machines. Making copper primer cups. The cups go through 5 processes, each one tricky. Every known safety device is provided. The girls have few accidents. She's trimming cartridges, getting them all ready for the Nazis and the Japs. Preparing cartridge cases. These are to fit 5-inch shells. Tapping the thread on the end of the case. Girls are particularly adept at this delicate precision work. This is the summer mecca for tidewater residents along the Atlantic. It is the only exclusively Negro seashore playground on the eastern seaboard, and visitors come from miles around. Average daily attendance is 10,000. The grounds cover 300 acres. The vacation spot is owned and operated by Negroes and has everything necessary for outdoor fun. Over in the Japanese war zone, there is a popular spot in the India-Burma sector known as the Wolves' Den, a name the GIs tagged on it. It's a rest camp for the doughboys in the burning wilderness. Good, clean bunks after long months on the hard ground. Boy, this is the life. And a cool shower helps a lot. Then plenty of ice-cold bottles for parched throats. The Red Cross maintains this camp for Negro servicemen and provides everything for their relaxation and amusement, even to a Red Cross worker who plays the piano. Here the United States Signal Corps cameras catch the boys as they bat out a game of ping pong. And the pasteboards get attention, of course. The boys get 15 days leave here periodically, and always find time to write home.
In the before times, when I could go to the National Archives at College Park and actually look through their film collections, which are thousands and thousands of films, one day I was looking through the U.S. Information Agency collection. In a computer, they have files of films. Some of them are on DVD, but most of them are in files in a computer. And I found Yvonne Barkley, Groovy Girl. I think it's from 1972. It's about 17 minutes. It's a United States Information Agency profile of the Voice of America host of Request Time, which was a radio show in Africa. I have not been able to find this film anywhere else. I stumbled into it really looking for other things. It's not on YouTube. This may be the world premiere of the Yvonne Barkley Groovy Girl. The United States Information Agency film collection at the National Archives is about 13,000 titles, and lots of them are like this, films that just haven't been seen in a long time. Miss Barkley passed away just this past year in June 29th, 2020. She was born in Monrovia, Liberia, and she hosted this Voice of America program. And as you see her working behind the scenes, you also hear some performances, and she introduces Roberta Flack to Africa. And Roberta Flack performs several songs. So here is Yvonne Barkley, Groovy Girl.
This is Request Time. Hello there, welcome once again to Request Time. I've got a groovy show planned for you today, and I hope you're going to stick around because some fantastic people coming up. First of all, I'd like to send greetings to all of my friends all over Africa, Ethiopia, Liberia, Ghana, Lagos, Nigeria. Also, I'd like to send greetings to people in Morocco and Tanzania, Uganda, and all over the place. Hey, welcome. By the way, here's the way I planned a news television show, and while we listen to something groovy, I think it's groovy. He's your man, he's my man. James Brown, funky drummer. 1, 2, 3, 4. Some programs are recorded on videotape, so I checked that.
Shade! God, it's a raid! Cut out the lights and call the law. Cut out the lights and call the law.
We get some programs on film. I watched the film to prepare my script. I go into the makeup room to put on makeup and make myself presentable. In the control room, I make the final check of the show. In the studio, my final instructions come from the director.
Bring on the juice. Bring on the juice.
Right, James Brown and funky drama. How about that? Did you like it? I'm sure you did. Groovy guy. You like him, I like him, everybody likes James Brown. By the way, on the serious side of things, though, we've got a gal coming up who is groovy. Everybody's groovy, but she's beautiful people. And I don't think she's known in Africa, but I think you'll really dig her. We did a television show together, and it came out something like this. Here's her first number, Roberta Flack. Compared to what?
Love, hanging on with push and shove. Possession is motivation, hanging up the whole damn nation. Looks like we always end up in a rut, trying to make it real. Compared to what? Said the slaughterhouse is killing hogs. Twisted children are killing frogs. For them rednecks are rolling logs. Title ladies are kissing dogs. And I hate that human love, that stinking mud. Trying to make it real. But compared to what? Church on Sunday, you sleep and nod, trying to duck the wrath of God. Said the preacher's filling us with fright. He's telling what he thinks is right, but he must be some kind of stupid nut. He's trying to make it real, real, real. But compared to what? Where's the beef? Where's that honey? Where's my God? And where's my money? Unreal values, crass distortion. Unwed mothers need abortion, and it kind of brings to mind. Oh, young King Tut, he tried to make it real, real, real. Compared to what? I said I loved a lie, not a lie to love. Hanging on with push and shove. Possession is the motivation, hanging up the whole damn nation. And it looks like we always end up in a rut, trying to make it real, trying to make it real, 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 trying to make it real. Compared to what? 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 Hi, how are you, Yvonne?
Fine, thank you. That was pretty groovy.
Thank you. Thank you
Your
very
songs
much.
always have a message, don't they?
Yes, I like songs that have something to say. I suppose all of my songs do have messages.
Like what's happening in the world today. for
Right.
instance, yeah. It's been a long, hard road, hasn't it?
Yes, it certainly hasn't been easy. It hasn't been as difficult, I imagine, as it has been for some other people who are in my business. But I taught school for several years before I made a decision to do this, and made the decision and plunged into it, and it's been pretty difficult, but we enjoy it all.
And it's paying off now.
Yes, it is.
Wonderful.
Thank goodness for that.
As the leader of your own band, do you find it very difficult leading men in a band or something?
I do. I enjoy it, however. Being a lady, I do enjoy leading men, but it is difficult because I am a woman, and they respect me as a woman, and no full-blooded man wants to take instructions from a lady, you know, however qualified she is. And just being a band leader is not a feminine role at all. It's but I don't have any problem, however. It's just that I think if there's any difficulty in it at all, it's my approach to them. They respond very readily to whatever I ask them to do.
Oh, wonderful. It's very nice that it's a bit easy for you anyway.
Yes.
Pretty soon, I'm sure your songs will be spreading throughout Africa because the people at home really dig stuff like this, you know. I think you're fantastic.
Thank you very much.
What about introducing your band players?
I'd love to. My drummer is Bernard Sweetney, and he's been with me for a couple of years. Bernard Sweetney on percussion. And my bass player has also been with me for a long time. His name is Marshall Hawkins.
Would you like to do something else
I'd
for us?
love to do something
Thank
for
you very much.
Okay. When I find myself in times of trouble, Mother Mary comes to me, speaking words of wisdom, let it be. And in my hour of darkness, she's standing right in front of me, whispering words of wisdom, let it be. Let it be, let it be, let it be, let it be. There will be an answer, let it be. And in my hour of darkness, there's still a light that shines on me. Shine until tomorrow, and let it be. Wake up to the sound of music. Mother Mary comes to me, whispering words of wisdom, let it be. Let it be, let
Thank you very much for joining me, Roberta Flack. Many of my listeners have written in to me and asked me, what is it that you do when you're not in the studio or before a microphone? Well, I like to cook and I like to paint. So while we listen to a song by Steam called Nana Hey Hey, Kiss Him Goodbye, I'll show you some of these things. Ha-ha! Nana, hey, hey. Kiss him goodbye. Steam. Closing it up today. Hey, it's time for me to go already, but I'll be back same time, 16:30 and 19:30. Don't forget to join me. And by the way, I'll be seeing all of my friends in Africa very, very soon. Until then, your gal Yvonne Barkley saying, be groovy, be cool. Bye now.
Young women in the government service in Washington are hostesses today at Midway Hall where they reside. Guests are servicemen, of course. A sailor is first in line. 3 good reasons for attending. The capital is famed for its hospitality to boys of the armed services. Oh, to be a sailor or a soldier on a night like this. Nothing helps break the ice like a dish of tea or a cup of punch or a lot of pretty girls. An added attraction is a program by the girls. Sweet singer of songs. She gets much applause. The affair was brilliant and one the lads will long remember. when they're a long, long way from home.
Now, we're going to go all the way back to 1929, St. Louis Blues. This is a most valuable and unusual film. It's the only film appearance of blues great Bessie Smith. It's about 16 minutes. It was a two-reel film, they call it, made for black theaters, distributed by RKO. It's a little bit rough at times. It's hard to hear. It can be a little slow in the beginning, but you do get to hear Bessie Smith sing, and it's worth the 16 minutes. Just be patient and watch this film. It's great. It's also was named to the National Film Registry in 2006. It's part of the Library of Congress's online screening room. Here is, from 1929, St. Louis Blues.
How's you gonna fade me with a nickel?
Man, don't tell me I can't fade you. I've been losing money since
What are you talking about? You stop
now
me
you
from
gonna start to
making
hand me some more.
I got $3 down there and I done lost money.
I don't think you had $33 down there. You don't make
Shut up. Wait a minute. There's gonna be some trouble in this game here in a minute. Yeah, I got to prepaid. Can I go? Can I go? Yeah, go ahead, shoot. Say, man. Yeah, y'all. Brother, y'all can't be shooting these dice down here in the flow like this, yeah? Smart, fella. Do you know who I am? No. I'm the janitor here at this place. That's what I am. Yeah. Who's running this game? I'm running the game. Well, look here. That white man is paying me to keep this here place clean. Yeah, but look like you're trying to clean me. Yeah. That's all right. Y'all go ahead and play, but, look out for me. Yeah, but don't come around too regular now. Come on, roll on to get that shit. What y'all say? Hey, Jimmy, did you see your old lady? Oh, you know I see my old lady. You see me with this money, I ain't working no better. Look here, Jimmy. Give me a bet, will you? Oh, man, let me get in the game before you start this. All right, boys. Shoot that 5 and a nickel there. Well, let them go, then. What are you waiting for? Let them go. Hello, baby. Hello, honey. How's everything? Hey, I'm not doing it in a minute. I'm trying to make me some money here. Yeah. What you doing with today? That's all right. What is it? 7. You see what it is. Oh, I thought he'd do that. Now. What you gonna do, Jimmy? I'm gonna shoot $2 or $3. All right. That's all right. Sure. The more you don't pay. The more you don't pay, put it down. Yeah. Lay down your hand. That's all you got. Look at that is all. Hey, Jimmy, come on, give me the bet. How you gonna let a man stand there and take the dice? Not the way, fella. Don't be bothered now. Yes, Jimmy, go ahead and
give me them dice, baby. Let me give you some.
Well, I hope you do, honey. Sure hope you do, because I need every pound of it. Now I'm gonna try. Here, I'm gonna bet it all now. Every pound. Get faded. Get down on it. There it is. All right, then let's go. Look out. Level.
What kind of woman is this?
You that's a pretty yellow woman. You know they love to do anything. You never get there what a yellow woman gonna do. Man. Yeah, well, come on, sweetheart. I didn't know you was that lucky. Yeah, how long has he been butting with that bro? Oh, man, he been going for a long time. Say, Jimmy, wait, I forgot to ask you. Give me a bit, boy.
Yeah, come on,
I get broke, I can't get a quarter from nobody. Give me a bit, boy. Come on. Yeah, get up off of that. Well, now, wait a minute. The man don't shoot the pistol. What's the matter even shooting? Man, just leaving me my cut. Baby, close that door. There's some gin over there.
Okay, baby.
Now, look here, honey. What did you do with that dice?
Wasn't nothing to it, baby. Stick with me and you'll always have money.
Well, I don't know what you did when you was behind my back, but whatever you did, it was tight like that.
Now, listen here, Jimmy. What would you do now if Bessie walked in here?
Oh, honey, don't pay Bessie no mind.
Don't pay Bessie no mind?
No, this is my room. Bessie just pays for it.
Oh, yeah?
Come here, baby. You old
sweet devil, you.
You know, honey, I sure like you.
I likes you too, honey.
This is my off day.
Well, get some more money and come back.
Oh, what are you talking about? See you again, fellas. Yeah, see you, Emmy. So long, Emmy. Hey, look at that. Where did Jimmy carry that yellow woman?
In Bessie's room.
Where? In Bessie's room. You know where.
Say, what is all that talk going on around here about Bessie?
My. I don't know what he got nothing to do with that.
Say, what's wrong?
Go to your room, honey.
What? Don't look at me. I told you not to come up here in the first place.
Well, I guess I'll be going now.
Not yet. You got to see me before you go. You little wretch. Come again in my room. Hey, Jimmy, get this woman off of me. I can't do you no good, honey. Say, what are you doing with the engine?
Yeah, y'all can't raise all this sand in here. What's the matter with y'all?
What's the trouble with you?
Well, look here, I'm the janitor, and I don't want
I don't care who you is. I don't care if you're the landlord. You ain't got nothing to do with my business.
You gonna move.
I don't care. Let me move.
You gonna move.
Don't I pay my rent?
Come on out, you gonna move. Don't you hit me. What's the... Now, yeah. Well, look here. Now, wait a minute, Jeff. Grab the woman.
Jimmy, don't leave me. Jimmy, please don't leave your Bessie. Jimmy, you ain't gonna leave me, are you? Woman, I'll be gone before the evening sun goes down. Jimmy, don't I give you everything you say you want? What have I got? I give you clothes. Clothes. I give you suits. Suits? Yeah. Singular, baby, not plural. One suit, that's all. One suit. Don't leave me, Jimmy. Oh, woman, get out of my face. Don't leave, Jimmy, please. Don't leave, Jimmy. My man. My man's got a heart like a rock cast in the sea. My man's got a heart like a rock cast in the sea. My man's got a heart like a rock cast in the sea. My man's got a heart like a rock cast in the sea. Bessie! Bessie! Jimmy! Oh, Bessie!
News brings you our people's contribution to America and freedom. Before Christmas, Chicago has been blanketed with snow. It's beautiful until you have to shovel it to dig out the jalopy. Perfect as a painting. Out in the suburbs, kids have the time of their lives. Who cares if it's 7 or 8 below zero, as it's been most of the time? Great sport. Lake Placid has nothing on this. Chicago has had its longest and most severe cold spell in many years.
Our final selection of the night is from a series called 1/10 of a Nation. There's about 5 films in the Library of Congress online screening room in this series. There's one called The Press, The Achievers, The Newsmakers. This one's called The Arts.
The artistic achievements of the Negro are rooted in the rich and ancient cultural heritage of Africa, which in recent times has profoundly influenced all Western art. In this intricate gold leaf work, in the devoted craftsmanship of the sculptor, the essential qualities of great art shine through, spanning time and cultural differences. Art lives beyond its own day. The stylized grace of this serving bowl is a remarkable anticipation of modern design. Impressive work is being done today by members of the race, both by established figures and by rising young artists such as Charles White of New York. His work in pen and ink and in oils has earned both critical and popular esteem. Success for a young painter today is marked when an art gallery accepts his works, and Charles White's are regularly shown in one of Manhattan's best. Coming into prominence as an illustrator is Ernest Critchlow. His Greenwich Village studio was visited by two of the few living descendants of Harriet Tubman on the occasion of the publication of a new biography of the great figure of the Civil War era, a book in which Critchlow's pictorial contributions are outstanding. The book jacket illustration, a painting of Harriet Tubman, was an easy job, for among the most notable of Critchlow's works is an earlier portrait of the same subject. Many of the paintings on his studio wall are among those exhibited at his first one-man show, a highly successful artistic debut. Critchlow's early promise is finding realization in his current work, which establishes him in the first rank of the field. In Old Saybrook, Connecticut, lives the author of the critically acclaimed novel The Narrows, Ann Petrie. Her third and latest, it took 5 years. In that time, she brought up a daughter, while writing and rewriting to perfection a book praised for its depth and human perception. The literary world eagerly awaits her next, but her family comes first. Life magazine is the headquarters for photographer Gordon Parks, on the staff of the popular pictorial news magazine since 1949, and a man who stands at the top of his profession. Whether he turns his lens to fashion or to graphic essays, Gordon Parks' style is unmistakable. His critical eye enables him to select from the many pictures he may take on a given assignment those few which most dramatically and concisely tell the story. Parks' work is among the finest in a magazine noted for photographic excellence. At home, Parks turns to other artistic interests. Unable to read music, Parks is a successful composer. Daughter Toni takes down the notes he plays. 41 years old, Gordon Parks has successfully realized his many artistic talents without neglecting a full and happy family life. Art fills the life of Jewel Simon's family. This Atlanta housewife and mother is a talented artist as well. Her basement workshop, crowded with sculptures and paintings, testifies to her activity, which hasn't interfered with the upbringing of little Margaret and Edward, her favorite subjects. What began as a hobby turned into a career with the recognition of her talent. One of Atlanta's finest young artists, her name is included in the definitive file of contemporary artists maintained by New York's Metropolitan Museum. But to the many who have seen her work, no credentials are necessary. Jewel Simon's talent speaks for itself. Music built this attractive Los Angeles home for Jessie Mae Robinson, whose tunes have been heard and sung by millions in recent years. She works tirelessly in her flower garden, a favorite spot for composing, and in recent months she has turned out 8 hits, more than many songwriters can do in a lifetime. Anytime you turn on the radio, it's very likely you'll hear one of Jessie Mae Robinson's tuneful ballads. They're among America's most popular. Here are her hits, bestsellers recorded by such top vocalists as Joe Stafford, Dinah Washington, Rosemary Clooney, and Frankie Lane. A golden harvest for songwriter Jessie Mae Robinson. This New York skyscraper houses one of the music world's key enterprises, Broadcast Music Incorporated, which licenses for performance a good part of the music you hear in theaters or on the air. BMI's consultant on contemporary music, a full-time job in itself, is Ulysses Kay, one of America's finest young composers. His works have been performed by the world's greatest orchestras. The latest prize in his promising career, a commission from the Louisville Symphony. In the decorative arts, the concepts of modern aesthetics are applied to metal jewelry by Art Smith in his Greenwich Village shop. He makes all the novel items on display in the attractive sales room and waits on customers himself. In a little over 6 years, he's built up a steady clientele for his modern designs in jewelry based on his studies of fine art. Here's a sample of his unusual wares, attractive however you look at it. Frank Neal's Tray House represents a return to one of the oldest aspects of decorative art. He deals exclusively in custom-made serving trays, often works of fine art in themselves. Formerly a member of the Katherine Dunham dance troupe, Neal opened his tray house not too long ago and found a ready market for his unusual specialty. This tray is a masterpiece in its own right. Painted in oils and bordered in gold leaf, it's a fine example of the heights which craftsmanship can attain. Hartford's Christopher Bean is another young artist applying his talents to practical crafts. His hand-modeled pottery offers colorful objects of real beauty for the home. In his tiny workshop, Chris Bean sets to work on one of the free-form ashtrays which are his favorites. Like most ceramic artists, Bean is an unorthodox craftsman. He scorns professional tools, using an ordinary spoon for shaping. The clay is formed, but the work is just beginning. Little details, like the notches that will hold the cigarettes, are just as important as the basic form in an artistically finished product. And Bean's painstaking workmanship allows no flaws, however small. Every potter blends his own colors and guards his formulas jealously. They're the secret of the glaze that gives pottery its worth. Finally, hours of intense heat in the Swedish electric kiln convert painted clay into lustrous pottery, and it's always a moment of satisfaction when the kiln is open. Arizona's colorful landscapes are a source of rich inspiration for modern painter Eugene Grigsby, art instructor at Phoenix Carver High School. Much of his spare time is spent sketching amid these scenes, the raw material for his characteristic bright and colorful interpretations. For any artist, this landscape would be a creditable achievement. But to modernist Gene Grigsby, it's just the first step. Returning home with his sketchbook, he heads for his studio, where the underlying patterns of nature are transformed into an abstract painting of the sort that has made Gene Grigsby's reputation. Atlanta University's annual exhibit of paintings, sculptures, and prints by Negro artists, the only showing of its sort in the country, offers an indication of the scope of activity by members of the race in the arts. Founded in 1942, it's rapidly become one of the South's outstanding cultural events. Each year, works submitted by both established artists and hopeful novices flood the university library. Yvonne Hunt brings her own self-portrait. She's typical of the many students whose work is a source of vitality to the art of America. The annual Atlanta exhibit has, through the years, become a truly impressive showcase for the artistic achievements of the race. The exhibits serve both as recognition of merit and as an incentive to draw forth new talent. Among the many paintings submitted may lie the work of one of tomorrow's masters, a reminder of the many fine artists whose early work showed here, and a reminder of their outstanding achievements, achievements to the credit of both the artist and the race.
Just from what that announcer said.
Thank you so much for joining us tonight for Vintage Movie Night. I'm sorry again that we couldn't all be together. Thank you if you participated in the chat. I hope we can all be together sometime in the near future to watch films. But until then, be peaceful, be safe, wear a mask, love your neighbor, and thanks for watching.
Vintage Movie Night, we're gonna watch some old films. Vintage movies. Vintage Movie Night, we're gonna watch some old films. Vintage movies. Vintage movies. Vintage Movie Night, we're gonna watch some old films. Vintage Movie Night, Vintage Movie Night, Vintage Movie Night.